People, it is Thursday. It is time for the drop. We're at Cactus Music World Headquarters, as you can see from behind me right here. Quinn Bishop, riding shotgun. As
Hello,
always, I'm Ruben Dominguez, whether you know that or not. There's that light again. See, we need to do something about that. All right, man, you know the drill. We've got new releases. We've got reissues. We've got a ton of stuff. Quinn's got the list. Let's go.
We got a bunch of great stuff. And I'm going to tell you, just before we get started here, we have a bunch of records by bands that have not recorded for obvious reasons in like 4 or 5 years. And it's interesting their take on that time when they did. Everybody's got kind of a different take on what happened there. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but we can kick it off. We talked about this last week because we had a global listening party last night for the brand new record from Jason Isbell in the 400 unit Weathervanes. And great record, double LP. There's an indie store exclusive natural vinyl.
Nice.
I don't know what that is. I'm guessing it's some
see-through. So
it's probably some
skin
kind
color
of tan thing.
Yeah.
Great record. Singles
double
were
album,
all pretty well received, but this is. I think it ends up being like what would be like a single. I still think it's about 15 minutes running time, but it doesn't all fit on a single LP, so it ends up being 2. Strong record. Hopefully, we get a tour date. He missed us last time, so but. Got to hear it last night with a bunch of fans here, and everybody really dug it. So, I think
at this point, I don't think we can go back and look at the roster and say, "Oh, that wasn't a great album."
Yeah, no, it's all good.
This dude is solid.
All good. And I will tell you, Ultimate Classic Rock, which is a great site that you can follow if you're a classic rock fan.
Mm-hmm.
They reviewed this record, and I noticed a lot more of the rock because he's perceived as a country artist, but it's rocking. I mean, that guy is rocking guitar player.
Oh, yeah, he is.
It's talking about rocking guitar players. Let's talk about this Houston guy who's very beloved here in our hometown. There's a brand new Robert Ellis record. It's called Yesterday's News. Very different kind of record for him. This is a very sedate. His last record was really upbeat. He played a lot of piano on it. And but this one is so Robert kind of stumbled into the quieter life, and he's got a couple of kids, and these are all songs that he wrote kind of as lullabies to his kids. And
nice.
Quiet,
I love that.
Kind of, it's very understated.
Very cool.
Instrumentation is very spare, but of course he's a fantastic singer.
Yes, he is.
And I think this is great material. This is on his own label. He started his own label, and
Nile City.
Yeah, and I guess he established a new studio as well.
I love that.
So he did that there, and man, it really sounds great. If you're a fan, you're gonna dig it.
So I've had a chance to be around him a few times. We talked about this before. I think the last time he had a release, probably very early on when we were doing the drop, and I was the first one to book him for TV. So he actually did our old Fox Rock segment, which we haven't done in a million years. And then I saw him do a little performance, which was kind of a fundraiser night. There were probably only 40 people in the room, and it was just him and a guitar, and he was just great.
He's an incredible guitar player.
Great.
And I'll tell you, so I was always interested in a lot of the people that play with him, like Joffrey and Will Van Horn. So those guys be doing guitar lessons at Rock and Robin. We're right across the street from Rock and Robin Guitars. If you don't know that, another great destination while you're visiting Cactus. You can go there and
ask Chad Smith.
Yeah. And but Robert on his breaks would come over and buy records. And whenever those guys, and Robert in particular, would come to the register, I'd always have to ease up there and see what they were buying, because there's such musicians. They would buy. They might buy a Calypso record, and then a Joni Mitchell record, and then a death metal record.
Very specific things. Yeah.
I mean, all over the place.
Yeah,
I was just so taken with how diverse what they're listening to, and it comes through in Robert's playing. He's a very, very skilled and really kind of not bound by anything.
Yeah,
he's a terrific player. So check this record out. It's really, really nice.
Nice.
There's a brand new Jenny Lewis record. This is, I love the title, Joy Y'all.
I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, this is her 5th record, and it is kind of a departure from the last record. The last record, I love that record, but it was, it kind of came out in a little bit of controversy because it came out in the middle of the cancellation of Ryan Adams, who had produced that record. And he's never coming back from that, I don't think. But
Maybe.
so it was kind of problematic with that record. But, you know, she is super talented. For those that don't know, she's the voice behind Rilo Kiley, and her solo records have been really great and walk the line between country and, you know, pop and soul and a whole bunch of different stuff. This is a fun record.
There are those hardcore fans that would probably cut my throat given the chance for what I'm going to say, but I think I enjoy her solo material more than the Rilo stuff.
I do too.
You know,
I do too.
And Rilo had a couple of songs that are just like shit. That's
I like
great.
those records.
But then there's a lot of it on there, and I find her to be a little bit more consistent.
And this is her debut for Capitol in Blue Note, and you know, Blue Note signs pop artists as well. Nora Jones is a Blue Note recording artist, and it sets in with that as well. It's good. It's got one of my favorite titles of a single for this year.
Go.
Puppy in a Truck.
And she's got these like almost like collectible cards for each song. That's super cool. So I got this really kind of early 70s folky vibe, but at the same time, you know, California kind of, I don't know. In my mind, I was like, oh, this could have been the opening act on like Fleetwood Mac's Rumors tour.
Absolutely. And I felt that on the last record
Yeah.
too. She's definitely coming from that place. And because of that, I think could really find just a wide audience, wider than, you know, what she's been doing.
Yep.
Think she'll come back to Houston?
I hope so.
Did she have a meltdown at her show from fans talking through the? I think she did.
That sounds familiar.
I think she did. So we'll see. We'll see if we see her
you
in
don't.
Houston too.
And
soon.
folks, and since you brought up having a meltdown at the show, if you're an artist out there or whatever, and you're starting to play some shows, starting to get a little notoriety, never go full royal blood and just walk off the stage and tell the audience that they're just not into it, so you're not playing. Did you hear about that?
I did hear about that.
Big festival. Social media was some of the most hilarious stuff. The comments were some of the most. They were like, "So play better music."
Yeah, you might want to. One of the best heckles I've
They're
heard
like,
from.
and who are these guys?
One of the best heckles I've ever heard, and Chris was there when it happened. Was a band. I'm not going to say what the band was, and the crowd, the chatter kept like getting louder and louder. And at one point, the guy's like, "Hey, can you guys be quiet out there?" And some guy at the back of the room, in a moment of kind of quieter moment with the crowd, he goes, "Screw you, entertain me." That'll keep you from talking.
Yes, that'll keep you honest, right? Yes.
Speaking of entertainment, this is Mr. Entertainment. This is Neil Horan.
Mm-hmm.
He has a brand new record. Everybody knows him because he's on The Voice, and you know him because he was in One Direction. And his last record was a monster here in the States.
Oh, yeah.
It was a really, really big record.
Oh, yeah.
And Heartbreak Weather.
We can call Slow Hands a hit, right? Off the last, I mean, that was a hit.
And new singles Heaven, and I think this is going to be what everybody
It's a good song.
likes. And so
It's a
the
very
last
good
record
song.
was huge, but that was even without the whole voice thing going on. This thing is going to just be blow the roof off of it.
Yeah.
And he's cool. It's really, again, the story sells a record, and with him being on a television program, his personality shows through, and I just think it's more endearing to music fans that you just connect on a deeper level.
I think he's got a shot. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's see how he does.
He might
do okay.
Yeah, we just called him up from AAA. If he keeps hitting, you know what?
We'll see.
Dusty might put him in.
Put him in the lineup.
Dusty might have him in the lineup.
Next up, Bob Dylan, Shadow Kingdom, and what you need to know about this. This was the concert, the streaming concert he did during the pandemic. This is the soundtrack for that. I love this. I cannot believe how good this is. This is not that I expect it to be bad, but very acoustic, stripped down, almost. Sometimes it veers into Cajun territory. Sometimes, it's all folky, but it doesn't sound too rehearsed. He's singing great. Song selection is incredible. Tip of the hat to Houston when he does "I'll Be Your Baby Tonight." They're playing the "Treat Her Right" riff over the whole thing. It's really, really cool. And I will say that Bob, his live albums are very confounding. His official live records, I don't think, are his best work in his of all of his released records. But I think this is really a gem. It's really good. Check it out if you're and his later records have been fantastic. So
cool.
This is a great record. Check it out.
3 sides of music plus an etching.
I'm guessing
Tell everybody
it's one
what
of,
that is.
I don't know. So it's sometimes if it's not enough music, instead of like putting 2 songs aside,
Yeah.
they'll put the music where it all fits, so you're not like getting up to flip the record over and over.
And then
So I
that
think there's
4th
4 or 5
side is
songs.
like artwork or something.
Yeah, it's artwork,
Yeah.
and I would bet you, I'm gonna bet that it is one of his. He works with, he does like ironworking. That is probably one
I didn't
of his
know that.
designs. Oh
Like
yeah, he does
sculpture?
all kinds of cool stuff.
I did not know that.
His whiskey, if you ever see his whiskey in the store, the Heaven's Gate, Heaven's Door. Sorry, they have it has all his ironworking designs.
Oh, nice.
That's the artwork.
I shall look for that.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
I shall look
It's a
for that.
quality product too.
Let's do
I
it.
might.
Invite
say-
me over sometime.
Come on.
We'll find out what
Come
happens.
on,
Let's
we'll investigate.
drink a little
We'll
bourbon.
see what our studies
See what happens.
indicate
Sure.
there. The Revivalists have a new record. It's called Pour It Out Into the Night, which you need to know about these guys from New Orleans, Louisiana. They're cool, man. They're
Good
a
band.
great live band, really great live band. And I would kind of they're like a rootsy alternative band, but all the New Orleans stuff is in there somewhere. It's just a little more subtle.
Right.
I really have pegged these guys for some years now that they could really like cross over and
Yeah.
sell a lot of records. They're a tremendous live group.
And I mean, they had major radio airplay.
Yeah.
Was it last album?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you go to some cities that have more progressive FM radio, you hear them
Quite a bit.
You hear
Yeah.
them a lot.
That's
on the
nice.
radio.
Great
So
artwork. I
think
love
they're
this
gonna-
cover.
Yeah, the artwork
Um,
is terrific.
Indie store exclusive, guys.
What color is
Sun Marble Vinyl.
that? Sun Marble.
Yeah, there you go.
I like
All right,
that.
Come on, let's do this.
I like it.
Let's make it happen.
All right.
Checking the list.
Checking the list. Cowboy Junkies have a new record, and this one's called Such Ferocious Beauty. What I will say about them is I think that they do a great job of not disappointing their fans, and they make a record when it's time to make a record.
Yeah.
They always go like 5 or 6, maybe
Right.
7 years in between records, so that whenever it comes out, it's still, they always deviate a little bit from what they do, but let's just say that, man, they have their own thing going on. And if they made a record like that every year,
Yeah.
people would
no
get
one
tired
would care.
of it. I call it the Sade model. Just about the time when people are missing it, going, "What's up with that?" You got a new record out, and
Yeah.
people are excited about it. Margot Timmons' voice is as great as ever, and it's that somber pop with a little bit of do a good job of balancing the melodic and the dissonance to where
Yeah.
there's enough edginess in there. Hopefully they tour. They're very cool.
I've
band.
never seen them.
I've seen them a couple of times. Of course, everybody remembers that 1988 Trinity
Sure.
Sessions
yeah.
record, which at the time sounded so fresh and just organic and cool. And there's still elements of that in this
Yeah.
record, so check it out.
Yeah. Well, there was nothing out at that time that wasn't
There was
like
nothing.
produced to the,
Yeah.
and it was just this bare bones kind of
And the
like.
funny thing is, I remember when everybody was like, "Oh, where's this coming from? This is so different." It's kind of the Velvet Underground, Remember those
Yeah,
guys?
yeah.
It's
It was
kinda
like, yeah, it was
that.
like,
They
yeah, it
were-
was like guitar, chord, amp,
yeah.
and reverb.
That's all you need. And
Reverb on the
room.
twin and the
And
room, and the room.
The
Yeah,
sound of the
exactly
room. The
right.
sound of the room, people. Okay. Avenged Sevenfold are back, and let's talk about these guys. This is the first one of the records I was going to talk about. That this is a band that this is their first record in a considerable amount of time. This is first since 2016, and they took 4 years to record this record. On and off.
Life is but a dream.
Life is but a dream. Look at the cover. I don't know whose dream that is, but
So, lots of things to, I'm going to say it, unpack here.
yeah.
So, if you are a longtime fan, you are probably among the "what the hell are you doing? What is this?"
Mhm.
camp. A lot of people are pissed off about this. They're getting a lot of heat about this because there's a lot of what Avenged Sevenfold to be, but then there are these Beatle-esque almost moments that happen that are quiet, and there's different instrumentation we've never heard on these albums and stuff. And they did a lot of, this does not look like an Avenged Sevenfold cover at all, and they took a chance, man. And I've read interviews that are like, we played what we wanted to play.
And you were, and that's what I was going to say. You were starting to see a lot more with these post-pandemic records of artists just following their muse wherever it leads them. And stress and distress creates with artists.
Yeah.
It makes them risk takers. and you're seeing a lot of risky records, at least with your fan base, where they expect the same, especially metal. It's a lot of the same stuff over and over.
Exactly.
I think that this is cool, and it shows that that's artistry.
Yeah.
When you're just doing what makes sense to you and feels has to come out, and they're talking about this record. I think they anticipated that there was going to be some blowback.
Yeah.
Because they basically said that this is, their assessment of their human condition, coming through the pandemic and everything. And of course, everybody has been changed by that. So this one it's kind of tempered them a little bit.
Give it a couple of years. Let it marinate, and I think the critics are going to be like, "This was a moment."
I think so. I think it's it's a cool record.
Yeah. For what I heard, I got through about 4 of the tracks, and I was like, I like everything I'm hearing.
Yeah, that first track is just like bam, 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 the meter that he's
exactly
singing lyrically. It's cool. It's cool.
Them shadows.
Okay, next up, kind of same thing. This is the new Rival Sons record. The cover is so cool, man. I love this record. This is Dark Fighter, and this is their first since 2019. So released a record right before the whole mess and toured a little bit, but didn't get out there too much. The take on this, I think, is like, let's whoop it up. It's got like this, just finally, like this tiger got out and is ready to have
all the big like classic rock riffs that they're known for. Mr. Fuzzlord on guitar providing just all sorts of insanity within reason.
Yeah, and this is a band,
and it's so good.
This is a band that if you're like a classic rock fan, you like heavy stuff, but you're not like a metal guy.
Yeah,
these are your guys.
Yeah, if I like what I like, but I'd like to hear something new that sounds like what I like.
Exactly.
This is it.
There you guys. So when they opened that Sabbath tour, you just kept hearing from people like, "Oh my God, these guys are great," and they are great. And for you, I will say this: that Jay Buchanan guy, their singer, has always reminded me of Chris Cornell. So if you're missing some Chris Cornell, like big voice over the top,
that'll scratch
screaming,
that itch.
It's legit. It's great band, but their take on their post-pandemic record is one of like, let me out of here, man. Let's go rock. It's really upbeat. I like it a bunch.
Well, I mean, there's such a great live band. It's like, when nobody could go anywhere, nobody could go to a show and anything like that. That's a knife in the heart for those kind of guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Glad to see they're back out there and doing it.
And our next one, Proto Martyr.
Yes.
Formal Growth in the Desert. Now this is such a cool band.
Super surprised by this.
Yeah, and so
I loved it.
They took some time. They went and did this record. This is their 6th release overall, and they recorded it went to a remote desert recording studio here in Texas, in Tornillo, Texas.
Oh, I didn't know it was in Texas.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
okay, cool.
Kind of isolated themselves, as you have to be sometimes, apparently. A place called the Sonic Ranch. And people always describe this band as sounding like, obviously it's post-punk inspired, but then it's they always say Joy Division. I hear Wire. Like they've always reminded me of Wire.
I don't hear Joy Division at all.
And
in fact, on this album, I think, for me, especially the first songs, all of a sudden it's very epic, very trippy. As you move through the songs, you get a little hint of maybe some industrial, there's just like a little bit of like that old Wax Trax kind of seasoning in there. They go from like tribal drums to ambient guitar. Love the singer, Joe Casey. Love him, man.
He's a cool singer.
And what I love about his voice is right around the edges of those syllables is a little Joe Strummer to me. I hear just a little.
That's cool. Yeah,
and it's the best part of it. So yeah. You know what? This is my highly recommended for this episode. There you go.
Sweet.
Go get it. And what's happening here? Because it's like you get a little booklet or something.
Yeah, I think it's
songs or maybe lyrics.
Know. I don't
Vizio,
know. And it doesn't tell you on the sticker. So
that's a bonus. Just to find out what the hell that is.
And so my lyrically, the take on their post-pandemic record is, all this happened. Let's get on with it. We're done. Let's process. We processed it. Let's move on.
You said, a lot of
and
these.
It's more contemplative than I think that not maybe as much as the Avenged Sevenfold, but it's like these 3 records we just discussed have a very different coming out of this.
Yeah, 100%. And I think Kelly Deal's still in this band, right? because she joined.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, she was not an original member, but I know at some point Kim Deal's little sister, Breeders, joined. So I was reading some background stuff, and I didn't know that. So yeah, there might be a Deal sister on here.
Cool band.
Yeah, man.
Cool band. Check them out.
Go get it.
Hey,
new music.
It is reassuring to me that these guys are still making records.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's cool. This is Rancid, Bay Area punk legends, influential.
What does it sound like, Quinn?
It sounds like Rancid.
It sounds like Rancid.
It's like
Hell
Rancid.
yeah, it does.
Brett
Brett Gurewitz producing. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's that West Coast classic punk rock sound, and it's give the people what they want. Again, their first record in since before the pandemic. Since this is their 10th record. So the other thing I wanted to say about all these records that we just discussed, that where the band hadn't made a record since 2019 or
right,
before.
Right.
I think all these records are better records because they might have released 2 or 3 records in that time. This is the distillation of all that best material coming out now. So if you got a favorite band and they're releasing a record now, I bet you it's going to be better than what you saw before from them, because and everybody was writing like crazy, right?
Exactly.
It's good stuff.
I love that.
Another guy that hasn't made a record in a long time. This is a New West recording artist. This is Ben Folds. What Matters Most. And it's been a minute.
Holy cow! When I saw this on the list,
this is for since 2015, and I think fans are going to be delighted in this record. Nobody probably balances the bittersweet, absurd, and humorous like this guy does lyrically.
Well said.
And we have a few. I'm showing you the autographed copies. We have non-autographed copies as well, but some signed editions. This is a terrific record. If you're a fan at all, you're going to be glad that this guy's back. This is on the Sea Glass Blue vinyl, and it's a strong set of songs. I think it's
a little quote from Ben Folds right on the top here says, "I don't think I could have made this album at any other point in my career." So he's obviously at a stage that,
he's got something to say.
He's got something to say.
He's got something to say.
Produce here. This is good stuff.
All right,
we got some killers today.
We got some great.
I know. On this list.
You should see the stuff that's not making.
That's not making the list. We'll have to do a whole show about that, Quinn.
We might have to do that.
There you go. That's a good idea.
We might have to do that.
We'll see that coming soon.
All right. Very popular jazz reissues program. We're going to talk about 2 that are part of the Blue Note Tone Poet series, and what you know about that. The Tone Poet series. This is music that has not, in being prepared for vinyl release, has not touched a computer. It's all analog mastered. And here's the big reveal. Here's McCoy Tyner. Time for Tyner.
What year was this?
It's late 60s, I believe.
Yeah, of course.
This is his. If you can find that,
I can't find it. I can't even read this.
This is his 3rd Blue Note album, and he had put together a new quartet that featured the great Bobby Hutcherson on vibes. And if you like that piano vibes interplay, this is the record for you.
This is it.
A lot of people don't like vibes, so only you know how that means to you. It was a fun listen. I enjoyed it. First track really kind of grabbed you, and McCoy Tyner's one of the greatest pianists ever, and
this looks like a good one.
Yeah, it's a fun record. And
nice.
Again, both of these records we're talking about, these are gems and not obvious classics. So it's cool that they're being reissued, because you never see these records come in used. I mean, they didn't sell big to begin with,
right?
But they're great.
Been
records.
out of print forever.
Yeah, indeed. And so next up is Donald Byrd's Slow Drag in the same series. Cool cover. I like this.
Very cool cover.
Hey.
There you go.
And so this is one of the last. This is as music was changing. This is 1967. A lot of fusion was coming on. It was the train in the distance. It's getting closer. And a lot of the jazz guys, they were coming out of hard bop. This is Donald Byrd's last hard bop, great record. And he, like everybody else, pretty much turned that corner and embraced fusion music right after that. Great lineup, great band.
Because then we went into the Return to Forever, Mahavishnu.
Yeah.
Kind
and
of.
Miles was really kind of the guy that put everybody on that course.
Yeah.
So this, in addition to having the great Cedar Walton play with him. You also get Sonny Red playing alto sax.
Nice.
And as we know, alto sax is not for everybody.
It's not for everyone.
It's not for everybody. We're talking to
very specific.
The audience of one.
Audience of one very specific person who's never seen the show.
Not going to.
No, doesn't have time for
not
it.
Gonna.
Yeah. He's, okay.
All right, and now onto our reissues program. And I try to pick a few records that really have been missing from the marketplace from superstar artists from the last couple of years. And the first one is Charlie XCX.
Solid.
Her debut album, True Romance. This is the first time this has been on vinyl. It might have been in the UK, but I don't think so.
This was a great debut.
Yeah, great debut, and it was critically acclaimed like crazy, but didn't sell gangbusters. That didn't happen until the Sucker record was really the breakthrough record, and this comes on the heels of her. I love it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. That was everywhere.
Everywhere.
Like
could not
everywhere.
Inescapable.
Everywhere.
Inescapable.
Everywhere.
Yeah, and. Yeah, super fun. So this really kind of launched her. She didn't really catch on.
What was the commercial that got licensed to something?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it was, you could not escape it.
No.
What was the commercial?
We heard it at the pool the other day. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was like transported because it's exactly 10 years ago.
10 years ago, yeah, for sure, 100%.
Great. We did an in-store with her, and the whole,
of course you did.
For
Quinn's literally met everyone. Like
when we've had her at the store several times. She's so cool with fans.
Yeah.
So gracious. But she performed, and the whole band was dressed as nurses, like all female band dressed as nurses, like blew it up. It was great. It was really fun. There's some photos I think on our Facebook.
I don't know. I've made the wrong choices in my life. I'm just telling you right now.
Oh, you're doing great.
I don't think so.
And you can
Doesn't feel that way. Doesn't feel that way.
Nicki Minaj.
Yes.
Nicki Minaj. This is Pink Friday. This is her second LP, and really, like, I think the big record. And I don't know that this was ever on vinyl. It might have come out as for specialty retail or something like this. But this is from 2012.
Yeah, man.
And so again,
He's in the trap with Rick Ross. Come on.
Yeah, a lot of guests on this.
Everybody's on here, man. Nas,
guests.
Drake, Young Jeezy, Chris Brown, Chris Breezy's on here. Beanie Man's on here.
Beanie Man.
Literally no one was left off of this. They just threw the entire, some producer just opened up his phone and go, yeah, I'm calling him. Maybe it was Rick Ruben.
What's Beanie Man?
No.
All right, we're going to close with something that kind of ties it all together. And this is
another good pick.
Yeah, this is Yo Boombox. And this is a compendium of early independent hip hop, electro, and disco rap, 79 to 83. Look at this cover.
I didn't even know this existed.
Oh, yeah. So this label, the Soul Jazz, does a great job of compiling essential tracks and singles that are on, a bunch of different labels and put them together in a way that you can kind of understand what the musical trend and movement was at the time. This is one of those collections.
Holy crap.
There's, the tracks you might know on here are great. And I guarantee you the ones you don't are going to be just
you're going to love them.
As cool. Love this label and
love the package too.
I just want to say that this could easily be a photo for an artist that's a brand new artist that's making records today.
100%.
So
everything old is new again, my friends.
It is indeed.
Yeah. Never throw out clothes.
Yeah, check out this label. They don't just do. They do like soul. They do reggae. They do.
Everything.
They do punk compilations. They do punk 7-inch compilations.
That are terrific.
Yeah, like punk compilations that would cost as much as your
super smart
utility bill, and they just put them all in one thing.
Boom, there you go.
Great. All right, we ready to talk about some vinyl voltage?
It's my turn.
It is your turn.
So, and Quinn lets me know like a week ahead of time what his vinyl vault is, and I completely forgot, and I had to text him like an hour ago, and luckily he had a copy of this. So, Matthew Sweet, this is Girlfriend. So, and you said this is great because when it came out, there was no vinyl of it. I mean,
the drop is very accurate in that we can't show you an LP because it didn't come out on LP at the time.
Right.
It was a CD and cassette. That was the CD and cassette era. Came out on vinyl much later, and now it is.
This was given to me, like somebody that got it, and back at the time, I knew people that kind of wrote for the Chronicle and wrote music for this, or Houston Press, or I don't even know, was Houston Press even around when this came out?
Yeah.
Okay. And somebody, and I don't know who, said, "Hey man, you want this?" they'd gotten it for a review and never gotten to it. I'm sure. Sat around for a little while, and I remember popping it into the CD player, and Divine Intervention comes on. And I was like, what is this? And then I just went through the whole album, and it was just like, I could not believe that. I'm like, am I the only one listening to this? And then later, of course, I forget. I was like, who the hell played that guitar solo? So, of course, Richard Lloyd's on here, Robert Quinn, two seminal early New York punk CBGB television era guitarists on here, killing it.
Yeah.
Sonically, it's amazing, from quiet moments to the big fuzzed out kind of stuff. I mean, yeah.
And rock and roll power pop albums of this time tended to not be guitar forward. And this is a heavy guitar forward record. Genius work in that
his lyrics are amazing.
Took his pop straight ahead rock songs and said, I'm just going to put one banger guitar player in one ear and one in the other. This was such a good headphone record because those guys, Matthew's playing the rhythm, and then those guys are just riffing constantly all over the place. And it sounds
like them jamming in the studio.
It sounds
like
live
in the studio. It doesn't sound like it's full of a bunch of overdubs. It's just raw, but beautiful, poppy, silky in some moments. It's just
brilliant record.
Forget it. Go get it.
And a kooky thing about this record is, so this is the CD age where everybody was just filling up CDs with 80 minutes of music. You had all these albums that were kind of too long,
right?
And honestly would kind of peel a star off how good the record was if it had been edited down to 10 or 11 songs.
Yeah.
Not this one. You couldn't take a track up. There's 15 tracks on this record. I don't know what track you would take off.
Right.
It is great. And of course, Matthew, tremendous harmony singer, and he sings all of his.
How good is Avenged?
Oh, super great. And this record holds up so well because it is the classic sound of a guitar plugged into an amp, overdriven with a mic stuck right in it.
And you know this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. And the picture on the cover is?
Tuesday Weld.
The great, the gorgeous, the ingenue. I mean, beautiful. Just one of those classic Hollywood actresses, that I think
great photo.
Died tragically. I think something happened to her, right? I don't remember that. I don't know.
But if I was a reviewer and that just came across my came across my desk, that would be the first thing I would
is find out. It's like, who is that? Who is that?
And so there weren't a lot of expectations for this because Matthew had released. He was part of he was in a band called OK Go with Michael Stipe's sister. It was kind of He made a record.
Oh, I'd heard that name, but I'd never heard them.
He made a record for Columbia that was, and then he made 2 records for A&M that were, pretty good. There was the elements of it, and I don't think he could keep. I think he was there without a deal. All the chips are down. Makes this record. Takes a risk.
Wow.
And it makes his career.
So, and you said you were really a big proponent of this album when you heard it, right? And didn't you got a quote on one of the?
I got the press for the record. They used a quote from me in the press because what they did was, this is back before you had to worry about music being embargoed and not on the internet because there was no music on the internet. And so they would send you advance copies of records for review. And there's some really rare.
That's what I got. Mine's an advance copy. Yeah.
So, replied to the label immediately. And then, knew people at Zoo.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is my favorite record of the year, and I can't remember what, but I got a little quote out there.
That's cool.
It was in the trades.
That's cool.
And, man, I still listen. And I almost picked this record for another special future edition of the drop that we're going to do.
Lots of ideas circling around there.
I'm striking them from there. That was a great pick.
So thank you. And, keeping up with this guy's very hard because he nails it every time the ball comes around. What's in stores, listening parties, what's happening, what's coming? I know you just had a huge one. Huge. I don't know. You guys always have stuff on the calendar.
Nothing this week other than a cool, chill place to shop. If you're looking for a day trip during the summer and you're trying to figure out what to do, you can hang out here. We're going to announce some stuff next week, and we'll talk about that on the next drop. All right, guys, keep it tuned right here. We will see you next Thursday. Mike Henry says, happy Friday Eve. Mike, thank you for always being here and saying hello. Thank you for watching the drop, guys. We'll see you next week. Peace.